What's up, America? We got a problem. And this right here is it. I'm going to read this word for word from the top as it currently sits in Congress. 117th Congress, First Session, H.R. 127, to provide for the licensing of firearm and ammunition possession and the registration of firearms and to prohibit possession of certain ammunition. In the House of Representatives, January 4th, 2021. Ms. Jackson Lee introduced the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. A bill to provide for the licensing of firearm and ammunition possession and the registration of firearms and to prohibit the possession of certain ammunition. Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the Sabika-Sheikh Firearm Licensing and Registration Act. Section 2, licensing of firearm and ammunition possession, registration of firearms. Subsection A, Firearm Licensing and Registration System. In general, Chapter 44 of Title 18 United States Code is amended by adding at the end the following. Licensing of firearm and ammunition possession, registration of firearms. In general, the Attorney General, through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, shall establish a system for licensing the possession of firearms or ammunition in the United States and for the registration with the Bureau of each firearm present in the United States. Firearm Registration System. Required information. Under the Firearm Registration System, the owner of a firearm shall transmit to the Bureau the make, model, and serial number of the firearm, the identity of the owner of the firearm, and the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm is or will be stored, and a notice specifying the identity of any person to whom, in any period of time during which the firearm will be loaned to the person. Just a little break. That means if you hand it to somebody, here, hold this, I got to go piss. You broke the law. Deadline for supplying information. The transmission required by paragraph 1 shall be made in the case of a firearm acquired before the effective date of this section within 3 months after the effective date of this section, or in the case of a firearm acquired on or after the effective date on the date the owner acquires a firearm. Database. In general, the Attorney General shall establish and maintain a database of all firearms registered pursuant to this subsection. Access. The Attorney General shall make the contents of the database accessible to all members of the public, federal, state, and local law enforcement authorities, all branches of the United States Armed Forces, and all of the state and local governments as defined by the Bureau. That means if the meth head down the road down yonder decides that he wants to get smart and see who's got guns because they're valuable as hell right now, yeah, all they got to do is go online on their cell phone and do it, according to this. Licensing system. Requirements. General license. Except as otherwise provided in this subsection, the Attorney General shall issue to an individual, at least they put shall, a license to possess a firearm and ammunition if the individual has attained 21 years of age, after applying for the license, undergoes a criminal background check conducted by the National Instant Criminal Background Check System established under Section 103 of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, and the check does not indicate that possession of a firearm by the individual would violate subsection G or N of subsection 922 or state law. Undergoes a psychological evaluation conducted in accordance with paragraph 2, and the evaluation does not indicate the individual is psychologically unsuited to possess a firearm, and successfully completes a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of firearms that includes at least 24 hours of training and demonstrates that on issuance of the license, the individual will have in effect an insurance policy issued under subsection D. Antique firearm display license, which this ain't going to apply to a whole lot of people, but it may. Depends on what you want to call an antique. The Attorney General shall issue to an individual a license to display an antique firearm in a residence of the individual if the individual is the holder of a license issued under subparagraph A, supplies proof that the individual owns an antique firearm, describes the manner in which the firearm will be displayed in accordance with regulations prescribed by the Attorney General, and certifies that the firearm will be so displayed, and demonstrates that the individual has provided for storage of the firearm in a safe or facility approved by the Attorney General for the storage of firearms. So basically, you got to take it out of the safe every day when you get up and put it in before you go to town. What the hell? Oh, military-style weapons license. The Attorney General shall issue to an individual a license to own and possess a military-style weapon if the individual is the holder of a license issued under subparagraph A and, after applying for a license under this subparagraph, successfully completes a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of the weapon that includes at least 24 hours of training and live fire training. I do that anyway. I go to the range all the time. Psychological evaluation. A psychological evaluation is conducted in accordance with this paragraph if the evaluation is conducted in compliance with such standard as shall be established by the Attorney General. The evaluation is conducted by a licensed psychologist approved by the Attorney General, as deemed necessary by the licensed psychologist involved. The evaluation included a psychological evaluation of other members of the household in which the individual resides. And this is where a lot of them that are reading word for word stumble. They think that everybody has to be evaluated. They don't have to be. It's up to the psychologist. As part of the psychological evaluation, the licensed psychologist interviewed any spouse of the individual, any former spouse of the individual, and at least 2 persons who are a member of the family of or an associate of the individual to further determine the state of the mental, emotional, and relational stability of the individual in relation to firearms. In other words, if your ex thinks you're crazy, you ain't getting a gun. If they want to be petty, you ain't getting a gun. That's anybody you know. If your friend that down low don't like guns and you don't know and you put them as a reference and they say no, he don't need a gun, they're going to say that to anybody, you don't get the gun. All right. Denial of license. Required. The Attorney General shall deny such a license to an individual if the individual is prohibited by federal law from possessing a firearm, or the individual has been hospitalized with a mental illness, disturbance, or diagnosis, including depression, homicidal ideation, suicidal ideation, attempted suicide, or addiction to a controlled substance within the meaning of the Controlled Substance Act, or alcohol, or a brain disease, including dementia or Alzheimer's. In other words, Biden can't have a gun. Or on account of conduct that endangers self or others. Well, there goes Trump too, I guess, for some of y'all. B, authorized. The Attorney General may deny such a license to an individual if the psychological evaluation referred to in paragraph 2 indicates that the individual has a chronic mental illness or disturbance, or a brain disease referred to in subparagraph A, section 2, is addicted to a controlled substance within the meaning of the Controlled Substances Act, or alcohol, or has attempted to commit suicide, or prior psychological treatment or evaluation of the individual indicated that the individual engaged in conduct that posed a danger to self or others. In other words, probably if you've ever been Baker acted, which is where they lock you up for 3 days for psychological evaluation, and maybe something happened that put you over the edge like 20 years ago, and you're fine now. You know, what the heck? Oh. Suspension of license. In general, a license issued under this subsection to an individual who is under indictment for a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year is hereby suspended. Well, they do that anyway. Authorized for lack of firearm insurance. The Attorney General may suspend a license issued under this subsection to an individual who has violated Section 922 DD in the most recent 12-month period. Revocation of license. A license issued under this subsection to an individual who is or becomes prohibited by federal or state law from possessing a firearm is hereby revoked. Duh. Such an individual shall immediately return the license and surrender all firearms and ammunition owned or possessed by the individual to the Attorney General. That means you can't give it to your brother, you can't give it to your dad, you can't give it to your uncle, you got to give it to the Attorney General. And it'll either be resold to fund more bullshit like this or destroyed. Expiration of license. A license issued to an individual under this subsection shall expire in the case of a license that has been in effect for less than 5 years, 1 year after the insurance or renewal, as the case may be, or in the case of a license that's been in effect for at least 5 years, 3 years after the most recent date the license is renewed. Renewal of license. The Attorney General shall renew a license issued to an individual under this subsection if the individual requests the renewal by the end of the 60-day period that begins with the date of the license expires. In the 3-year period ending with the date of the renewal is requested, has met the requirement of paragraph 1A, section 2, and has successfully completed a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use, safety, and storage of firearms and includes at least 8 hours of training. So every time you get it renewed, you got to go through more training. What the hell? Meets the requirement of paragraph 1, section A, subsection 3. Or paragraph 3. And in the case of a license issued under paragraph 1, section C, and the 2-year period ending with the date of the renewal is requested as successfully completed a training course certified by the Attorney General that includes at least 8 hours of training in the use of weapon subject to the license. Firearm insurance. This is the expensive part that's going to knock most of us out of it. In general, the Attorney General shall issue to any person who has applied for a license pursuant to subsection C and has paid to the Attorney General the fee specified in paragraph 2 of this subsection, a policy that insures the person against liability for losses and damages resulting from the use of any firearm by the person during the 1-year period that begins with the date the policy is issued. Fee. The fee specified in this paragraph is $800. So, you can either get your government-required car insurance for the year, or you can get gun insurance for the year. What the hell, y'all? Military-style weapon defined. Section 921A of such title is amended by inserting after paragraph 29 the following. The term military-style weapon means any of the firearms or copies or duplicates of the firearms in any caliber known as Norinco, Mitchell, and Polytechnologies, Avtomat, Kalashnikovs, all models. Action Arms, Israeli Military Industries, Uzi and Galil, Beretta AR-70, SC-70, Colt AR-15, Fabrique National, FN, FAL, FN LAR, and FNC. SWD M10, M11, M11/9, and M11 or M12. Steyr AUG, Intratec, Tech 9, Tech DC9, and Tech 22, and revolving cylinder shotguns such as or similar to the Street Sweeper and Striker 12. A semi-automatic rifle that has an ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least 2 of folding or telescoping stock Mine. Pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon. Mine. Bayonet mount. Not mine. Flash suppressor or threaded barrel designed to accommodate a flash suppressor. Mine. And a grenade launcher. Not mine. I've got 3 of those, and mine's a bottom shelf AR. Semi-automatic pistol that has an ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least 2 of an ammunition magazine that attaches to the pistol outside of the pistol grip. Threaded barrel capable of accepting a barrel extender, flash suppressor, forward hand grip, or silencer. Shroud that is attached to or partially or completely encircles the barrel and permits the shooter to hold the firearm with a non-trigger hand without being burned. Manufacturer weight of 50 ounces or more when the pistol is unloaded. Probably mine. Oh, and a semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm, and a semi-automatic shotgun that has at least 2 of folding or telescoping stock. That can be put on pretty much any shotgun. Maybe not legally, but pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon. That can be put on pretty much any shotgun. Fixed magazine capacity in less than 5 rounds, or in excess of 5 rounds. That can be pretty much any shotgun. An ability to accept a detachable magazine. And there's a lot of those. Clerical amendment. The table of sections for each chapter is amended by adding at the end the following. License of firearm and ammunition possession registration of firearms. Deadline for establishment within 1 year. After the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall prescribe final regulations to implement the amendments made by this subsection. Prohibitions and penalties. Prohibitions. Subsection 922 of such title is amended by adding at the end the following. It shall be unlawful for a person to possess a firearm or ammunition unless person is carrying a valid license issued under section 932C1, and in the case of a firearm owned by the person, the firearm is registered to the person under 932B, or in the case of a firearm owned by another person, the firearm is so registered to such other person, and such other person has notified the Attorney General that the firearm has been loaned to the person and the possession is during the loan period specified in the notice. It shall be unlawful for a person to transfer a firearm or ammunition to a person who is not licensed under section 932C1. It shall be unlawful for a person to sell or give a firearm or ammunition to another person unless the person has notified the Attorney General of the sale or gift. It shall be unlawful for a person to loan a firearm or ammunition to another person unless the person has notified the Attorney General of the loan, including the identity of such other person and the period for which the loan is made. It shall be unlawful for a person holding a valid license issued under section 932C1 to transfer a firearm to an individual who has not attained 18 years of age. Kind of contradicting yourself there. You just said 21 a while ago. Person who possesses a firearm or to whom a license is issued under section 932C1 shall have in effect an insurance policy issued under 932D. Penalties. 924A of such title is amended by adding at the end the following. Whoever knowingly violates section 922AA shall be fined not less than $75,000 and not more than $150,000, in prison not less than 15 years and not more than 25 years, or both. Whew. Whoever knowingly violates section 922BB1 shall be fined not less than $50,000 and not more than $75,000, in prison not less than 10 years and not more than 15 years, or both. Violates section 922BB2 shall be fined not less than $30,000 and not more than $50,000. In prison not less than 5 years and not more than 10 years, or both. Whoever knowingly violates section 922BB3 shall be fined not less than $5,000 and not more than $10,000. Whoever knowingly violates section 922BB4 shall be fined not less than $75,000 and not more than $100,000. In prison not less than 15 years and not more than 25 years, or both, except if the transferee of the firearm possesses or uses the firearm during or in relation to a crime. In unintentional shooting or suicide, the transfer shall be fined not less than $100,000 and not more than $150,000. In prison, not less than 25 years and not more than 40 years, or both. Whoever knowingly violates Section 922 CC shall be fined not less than $50,000 and not more than $100,000, in prison not less than 10 years and not more than 20 years, or both. Conforming amendments: elimination of prohibition on establishment of centralized firearm registration system. Section 926A of such title is amended by striking the second sentence. Applicability to governmental and military firearms and ammunition. Section 925A of such title is amended in each of paragraphs 1 and 2 by inserting "and except for" Section 932 after the second comma. Effective date: the amendments made by this subsection shall take effect on the date final regulations are prescribed under Section A4. Prohibition on possession of certain ammunition. In general, Section 922 of Title 18 United States Code, as amended by Section 2 of this Act, is amended by adding the end of the following. It shall be unlawful for any person to possess ammunition that is 50 caliber or greater. There goes 20 gauge slugs. Just saying, that's a thumb hole. Shall be unlawful for any person to possess a large capacity ammunition feeding device. What are you calling large capacity? Make your mind up. Exact numbers, people. My AR comes standard with a 30 round magazine. I got a 40 and a 60. 2, actually, except one of them's broken. Shall be unlawful for any person to possess a large capacity ammunition feeding device. Subparagraph A shall not apply to the manufacture or possession by the United States or a department or agency of the United States, or a state or a department, agency, or political subdivision of a state, or the possession by a law enforcement officer employed by such an entity for purposes of law enforcement. In other words, they can have it, but you can't. More of that. The possession of an employee or contractor of a licensee under Title I of the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 on site for purposes of establishing and maintaining an on-site physical protection system and security organization required by federal law, or off-site for purposes of licensee authorized training or transportation of nuclear materials. The manufacture or possession by a licensed manufacturer or licensed importer for the purposes of testing or experimentation authorized by the Attorney General, or hey, YouTubers, there's our out. We could get a special license from the Attorney General. Hey, we make videos on YouTube. Everybody jump on that if this shit passes, which we cannot let it do. Oh, the manufacturer for or possession by an organization that provides firearm training and that is registered with the Attorney General, or the possession of an individual to whom such an organization is providing firearm training during and at the location of training. Large capacity ammunition feeding device defined. Section 921A of such title, as amended by Section 1 of this Act, is amended by inserting after paragraph 30 the following. The term large capacity ammunition feeding device means a magazine, belt, drum, feed strip, or similar device that has a capacity of, or that can be readily restored or converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition. What the hell? There goes all Glock magazines and AR magazines, pretty much. They do have 10 rounders, but come on. Oh, but does not include an attached tubular device designed to accept and capable of operating with only 22 caliber rimfire ammo. At least they left 22s out. Penalties. 924A of such title, as amended by Section 2 of this Act, is amended by adding at the end the following. Whoever knowingly violates Section 922 DD1 shall be fined not less than $50,000 and not more than $100,000, or imprisoned by not less than 10 years and not more than 20 years, or both. Whoever knowingly violates 922 DD2 shall be fined not less than $10,000, not more than $25,000, imprisoned not less than 1 year and not more than 5 years, or both. And there is the whole 13-page bill. Folks, we can't let this shit through. You know that. I know that. We all know that together. Seriously. This is basically a ban. That's all it is. An underhanded ban. Maybe not all at one time. But from my understanding, this is pretty much putting you down to a revolver. I mean, maybe not literally, but that's what they'd like to go to. That's the next step. All semi-automatic weapons will be banned. Eventually. If you don't believe me, look at Australia. Look at Britain. All right. Now, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to fight it tooth and nail. I'm going to call everybody I'm supposed to call. I'm going to protest everybody I'm supposed to protest. I'm going to hoop, holler, and make noise. And y'all might not think so, but if it comes down to it, come get my shit. I bet you won't while I'm home. Think I'm playing. I'm not. Sitting right here by the door with a 60-round magazine in it, ready to go. Green tips, 5.56. So think I won't. If you're going to come get my shit, you better do it while I ain't home. And you better hurry up and do it before I start storing it in the vehicle. All right. That's all I got to say about that.